Cool. All right. So I just finished reading a small section of a book, Black Sheep. Excuse me, Black Sheep 2023 July edition. And the story that I read was someone who is actually a good friend of mine.
Yay!
Yay! So, do you want to tell us a little bit about Mr. Bryce Thane? This short story called House of Doors. Like, how'd you come up with the title and the characters and everything? Or should we go over like what the story is real quick and then your process of it?
Yeah, it's a short story, House of Doors. The main idea about it is just a house in the middle of the woods that is just nothing but doors. Nothing, no windows, no nothing normal. And two boys, Jack and Corey, they find themselves kind of intrigued with it, and they go into the house and find out that what lies behind the doors are nothing pleasant and just kind of a nightmare in the end. Kind of has similarities to a Stephen King miniseries called Rose Red, or his book Black Sheep, even though it's not necessarily an inspiration, but I'm sure my brain sealed those away for those, but that is the main idea. So yeah, that's the main story. Where I came up with the idea. Ideas are weird for me. They just kind of randomly show up. There's usually like a scene or something. And this one came, I was reading a book called House of Leaves, and it kind of has that similar idea a little bit. I didn't finish it, but the idea of I was just laying in bed one night, and I was just thinking, and my brain reeling, and the idea came to me like, I don't want a door, like a House of Doors would be like, that is interesting. And I kind of sealed the idea away for a while. I think at the time I was working on a novel already, and my hands were full with that. But once I finished my first draft on that novel, I had at least 6 weeks to kill before I started editing the novel. Well, not necessarily editing, but going over it and seeing how much of the book I need to cut and fix. And I was just writing a bunch of short stories to kill time and keep writing. And that was one idea I had, and I was like, I'll see what I can do with it. And it turned out to be a pretty good short story. It turned out to be a little more. It's always different than your first idea of it, but that's the main where that idea came from.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The few questions that I have, and well, one is the person, and this is obviously going to be spoilers for the story, but do you have any idea who the person was that was in the house that greeted Jack when he first came in with the muddy boots and everything?
Guy?
Yeah.
I like to think of him.
He's like the host of the house. That's
like,
how I saw it.
I like to think of him as like the gatekeeper, like the owner of the house. Yeah, kind of like a gatekeeper, just kind of gatekeeper owner. It's his place, it's his home, it's his little corner of hell, I guess. And it's
yeah, because I thought like.
And...
Sorry, go ahead. That was my bad.
No, that's about all I had to say on that.
I was just gonna say, it felt like the house was more like spiritual than anything. Like obviously it physically appeared, but it teleports and everything. But he must be physically real since he left muddy prints outside of the house, and that's the first thing Jack noticed was that he still had mud on his shoes. Yeah. So I was like, so is this guy like some sort of spirit or demon or creature that can like go into the world? It's almost like the house is like connecting another dimension or something, or like you said, in hell.
Definitely. I'd say the dimension thing is kind of what I liked. I like the idea of the house showing glimpses of real horrors throughout either like our dimension or other dimensions. And just kind of what it's obviously kind of like the corner of hell where it's just showing you the bad parts of humanity.
Yeah. Because that
obviously
because it took a turn, because when I went in I thought it was going to be a little scary or something, but then the very first door that he goes in is there's 6 people and they all look, you set it up so well where they're all like really nice and polite and upper class and everything, and she's sharing cake with them, Elizabeth, and then she's like, I just wanted to reward all of you for sleeping with my husband. I was like, wait, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
And they all looked at each other, and then she poisoned and killed all 5 of them because 2 of them were cheating, and then the other 2 knew about it but didn't say anything. And I was like, oh, so is this going to be about what happened in... I originally thought it was going to be like that was the house of like that's what happened in it.
Oh, that happened.
But then the next scene was even worse because he went through another door, and it was a man who was just... It was very, very graphic the way you wrote it. Like it was. I had to like take a second. Like I had to literally put it down for a second. Go like, this is intense. It was a man who was upset with his wife's lack of cooking skills, banged her head repeatedly on the table, breaking the dish, and then the children were so upset that he then killed the children. And then I was like, what the heck is going on in this house? That's not what I thought.
It's a pretty happy family there.
So, yeah, I like how the first 2 were very like a little bit long and detailed, and then the third one was just to show that he was running from door to door was pretty simple. It's like goes in, sees a desert, sees another man eating another man's chest, then goes out. It's like, all right, cool.
All right, we're good. But I like that whole point of him. He's just running, and I think it just shows that the house never ends. And I think my favorite part in that is the old guy he sees in the corner, still dressed as like an 8-year-old boy, crying for his mother, and just shows that the house is eternal, and like you're not getting out.
Yeah.
I always liked that. And then with the creature too, and just that whole nightmare ending.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm trying to think about what I'm trying to say with it, but what made you think about all those different room scenarios, and what was like the best order, and then were there some ideas that you thought maybe they weren't as good, or maybe they were a bit too detailed and graphic with it?
No, I'm usually not one to shy away from too detailed and weird.
I guess that's because you like Stephen King. That makes sense.
Yeah, and that, I mean, if my novels ever get published, especially my second one, you'll see that I don't shy away from the really, really dark parts of people, because that stuff has always fascinated me, and I think there comes a point where if you're censoring it too much, it kind of takes away from to a degree. There's times where you can keep it simple, and I think that could be more terrifying than going into detail.
Right, like the human imagination will be worse. I agree.
Yeah, but I think there's times where if you're just constantly saying these bad things are happening, but not just. I remember there's a book I read. It's a great book. Don't get me wrong, but in the movie, it's really good. It's The Boy in Striped Pajamas.
Oh yeah, I had to read that book and I watched the movie. I like both of them.
They're really good, really good. But I feel like the biggest issue I had with the book is that it never went into detail with what was happening. Like it would tell you what was going on, but like when an event that should shock you and event you, it just kind of like shied away from it. It just stopped and then it went away from it. And I feel like it was kind of like, okay, but I think at the same time, I think he tried to write it from a young adult audience.
Yeah, I was about to say, I read that in middle school, so I think that might be why. It's meant to like just to kind of, it's meant to like open, not to like use play on words for your short story. I was gonna say open the door a little bit of the Holocaust for the kids, and you don't want to go full like. And this, yeah. So I actually,
think for
that was
me,
fine.
I don't know. I like this kind of books. Where, like, I mean, show me the, but so I think with the one that came to every room, I just kind of came with the first thing that came to my mind, and I didn't want to go too long because I think I keep showing you going through all these doors. It gets pretty stale pretty fast.
Yeah, because the first two were pretty detailed, and the third and fourth one were pretty quick, but really good in showing just all the different scenarios that were happening.
Yeah, so I wanted to keep it kind of where it shows that he's just going to keep seeing terrible things for the rest of eternity, and he's not really going to end. And there wasn't really. I mean, I could have come up with more, but I wanted to be really those ones I wanted to be quick to the point to show that. Because if I did detail ones like the first two, I feel like it would have, especially with it being a short story. If it was a novel, I probably could have, but with it being a short story, I felt like it needed to be quick and to the point.
Yeah.
Especially with it coming to the conclusion of that part of the story.
I know that was the worst part. Not worse than like a bad thing, but it's like that's the sad part about this is when Corey was like going out to try to find it and he found it. I was like, okay, he's gonna get in, rescue him, and that's it. But no, it's like, yeah, he goes in and then his fate was sealed. I'm like, oh, so they're both just gone. That's so sad.
I had a lot of people ask me like, "Oh, what happens to him when he gets in the house?" Like, what do you mean? What happens?
It's like I'm assuming he's going door to door to door, and he's just gonna be mentally destroyed. That's I think the only other question I had when because I'm assuming he's gonna be greeted and everything. When Jack first went in, the man asked him what his name was, and when he said it was Jack, he said it meant something like God is righteous or something. God is great, and he said ironic. So do you think that's because he was now in a part of hell? Like a part.
Yeah.
So
I think that like God is great. God will look out for you. God will take care of you. Now it's like kind of ironic that you're just kind of here, isn't it?
Okay, that's what I thought when you said that. I was like, this kid's not getting out.
That was a really funny coincidence because I didn't think about that name. I just kind of like, oh, Jack's a good name. Then when I got to that point, I was like, oh, I'm curious what Jack means, and I googled it, and I was like, oh, that's perfect.
That's really good.
Like the irony of that works really good. So then I put that in, and I was like, wow, that is just a perfect little nightmarish coincidence.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think throughout the year, what I'll do, what I think I told myself is I have like main books I'm reading, but in between the main books, I read this short story. I'll read a main book, like a more fledged out novel, and then I'll read all the short stories. So eventually, I will read all of them in there, but I wanted to read yours first because you're a good friend, and I'm actually really, really proud that you were able to get something published. So
well, thank you, I appreciate that.
So yeah, I recommend that short story alone was really good. So I'm assuming all the other ones are good. Have you read any of the other ones in there, or?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'll see you next time whenever you write something.